Welcome to the Bullish podcast, where faith meets mental performance. Let this be your guide on a journey of growth and resilience. Each week, we dive into conversations with top performers, exploring the mindset and faith that fuel their successes. This is the Bullish podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Bullish podcast. I'm James, your host, and today we are going to take an interesting look at this wonderful idea that age has no barriers. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look quickly at just research when it comes to success. First and foremost, whenever I meet new clients, younger athletes, younger musicians, one of the first things we like to tackle is purpose. What is our purpose? And I've mentioned this multiple times before. If the reason why you're doing something isn't personal enough, got to find a different purpose. And studies have actually shown that when younger generations have focused on finding purpose within their work and having a good work-life balance, that actually correlates into job resilience, because you tend to stay with a job longer when your purpose is aligned with what you're doing. And this also feeds into the later life, the late bloomer theory, where new studies from business schools have actually shown that successful entrepreneurs did their startups at 45 or later. Some people find the most success when they're 50 years old, which all this goes to show that there really is no barrier when it comes to age. And today we're diving headstrong into an incredible testimony from someone I've known for a little bit of time now, but at such a young age, he has found his dream job working for the media team in the Timberwolves. And this reminds me of a verse that I'm sure you've heard before. It's Jeremiah 29:11, but it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future." And just to have that as your foundation and purpose is exemplified through this testimony today, and just being able to continue to push through answering God's call, and how to manage just the different anxieties, especially as a young individual in this world with social media, where the lies of comparison are constantly knocking at your door on your phone. How do you manage that? How do you step into your calling? And we get to sit down and have a conversation about it. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Amari Townsend. Welcome to the Bullish podcast.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Always good. Why don't we just kind of introduce what you're doing and who you are. So what are you doing right now, man?
Okay. Well, my name is Amari Townsend, as James mentioned. But currently I am an associate video producer for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
What?
And I am 22 years old.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Very young age to be in the league, but I'm there all because of God's grace and God's plan. So
that is it, man. And yeah, every time you say 22, I just feel super old. So thank you for reminding me again, how late I started chasing my dreams, which is a good lesson to everyone that's listening, is that there's no age for when you can start chasing your passions and your dreams. If God has really set something within your heart and you go to God for counsel, you talk to him, you discuss it, and he says, go. Doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is that you obey and you follow through. So anyway, before that little message there, when did you start photography? Like, how long ago, or how young? I mean, you're still young. I can't even say that in this. When did you start photography?
Yeah, so I started in high school. So I started in 2018, 2019. My friend had a camera. We used to go like skateboarding and longboarding all around the city, and then he was like, "Oh, I brought my camera." And actually, it was a senior project. We had to make a music video for some like AP US history class. Some last minute assignment we made, and then turned out the process was amazing. We stayed up to like 2 a.m. making a music video, planned it out, scripted it out. It was great. And then ever since then, we started bringing our camera with us. Started bringing the camera with us, and then it kind of picked up from there. My dad had a camera, and then he gave it to my sister, and I was like, oh man, then I had to buy my own camera. And that's when I kind of like fell in love with like making things, and I took it in my own hands. I was like, okay, if I don't have a camera, I gotta get one somehow. And then I went to school for it for a year. I went to MCAD, the College of Art and Design in Minneapolis. And then it wasn't really my niche, I guess you could say. You know, COVID happened, so a lot of different hurdles and obstacles to get around. But then I went to North Hennepin, still kind of continued my graphic design mind. And then I realized that graphic design is not for me. You know, I appreciate it, but I can't do it. And then I kind of fell in love with like the video making and storytelling aspect of photography. So then I was like, okay, let me just try to tell stories without using just one frame. And then that's where kind of video kicked off with the YouTube channel and then minor projects. And then here we are.
Okay, so I just need to clarify something. You said in high school was when you started okay, so if you're 22 right now, high school is like, what, 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
So you've gotten to this point in your life in a matter of 4 years.
Yeah.
Man, that's what catapulted you? What were the things that fell into place that kind of got you to this stage?
I won't discredit what happened at MCAD. So during that time at MCAD, I met a young lady and she was like, you know, I believe in God, I believe in church. And I was like, that's great for you. I never grew up religious or grew up in like a Christian household. We had Christian values, but never quite like go to church every Sunday. I was a Christian and Easter or Christmas and Easter kind of guy. So I was like, good for you. And then she was like, no, for this to work, she brought up equally yoked in the Bible. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's good for you. You know, I believe in that for you. And then I went one day, she was like, yeah, this is real for me. And I was like, okay. Then I was like, I'll do my research, figure it out. Didn't do any research, didn't figure it out. So she was like, all right, here's the last straw. Either you're coming or we're done. So then I decided to come with. And then first day I remember Andrew Isaac was speaking. I don't remember exactly the message, but it spoke to me for sure. I went down to the altar call, kind of had that moment with God. And then got introduced to like the internship and all types of stuff in that nature. And I was against it. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I'm not gonna do the internship. I don't even go to church. Like, that's not me. Yeah. And I came one day and they were like, you should come back next week. So I came back next week. And it obviously wasn't bad if I came back. And then so then I kind of continued that role. And then I took on a position of servant leadership at church with the photography team. Because I knew I started doing that and internship, you know, you want to help serve in different various ways that God gives us. So then I did that for a little bit. I'm still doing that currently. But in that, Pastor Jonathan Brosazog, we were doing a cell phone permit program. And we had a commercial shoot, I guess you could say, more upscale video shoot. Yeah. And I was with Andrew Isaac and he was like, yo, you should come with. So I came with. And I was talking to him. I was like, why don't I just come with and just chat out, you know? So then I was seeing what they were doing on set and I was like, why don't they do it this way? It was like some lighting situation. And I was like, you know, watching YouTube videos. I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. It's like sideways, different lighting. And I was like, why don't they do it like this? And he was like, don't tell me, tell them, which is a word in itself. So I said it louder to them and they were like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then, so then I stood up, started working on set with them. Didn't even know who they were. I just like I just met them that same day. And then kind of got their contact from there. Then come to find out that they do wedding photography, wedding videography. So that was like my I guess you could say. Yeah. So I learned a lot from them on sets, PA work, production assistants, and all types of lighting and like gaffers and all types of. If there was a spot on set, I would fill it. You know, I'd love to be there just to be a fly on the wall. So then that happened for a while, and they were like, "What do you want to do?" You know, because I'm always on set, I'm always doing random things, and I was like, I don't know, sports seems pretty cool. Yeah. So they put me in touch with this guy on Instagram. So crazy story. They put me in touch with this guy on Instagram who does sports videography for the Timberwolves at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna reach out, you know, cold message DM. I'm not gonna get a response, you know. Yeah. I responded. I was like, hey, I saw the message on my phone. It was like, hey, I'm interested in videography. I'm still learning. Blah blah blah. Can you help me out? He was like, actually, I'm putting together a production company with an education wing. Yo. I'm gonna find out I need someone to test it. So I was like, say less. I'm that guy. I'm there, you know. So I met with him a few times, did a couple shoots with him, with that group, that production. I'm still close with them. I still do work with them quite frequently. And then he posted on his Instagram. He was like, yo, spots are opening up at the Wolves if someone should apply and blah blah blah. And I was like, should I do it? And I was like, I texted him. I was like, hey, bro, I'm still learning, but should I do it? He was like, just go for it. Apply. Yeah. I applied. And then I was on a job with the same harvest company at a wedding. I got a call and they were like, hey, this is so-and-so from Timberwolves. So I want to see if you can come in for an interview. And I was stoked. I was like, I missed the call. So I was like, oh, and so I called him back. I don't know why I called him back at a wedding. But I called him back. I was like, hey, this is Amari. I'm excited for the opportunity. Thanks for giving me. I was super excited.
You're giddy.
I was very giddy, but that led to an interview, which led to a great process. And then I got hired within probably a week of interviewing. So
man,
it was great. Crazy enough story with the person who Harvest put me in touch with that worked in sports. They don't know each other.
They don't, or they do?
No idea who each other are.
What?
Nope. I asked them, I was like, how do you guys know each other? They're like, oh, I don't know that guy. And then I asked him, like, how you know him? I was like, I don't know. I heard of him, but I don't know him. So I was like, okay. So that just proves to me that God was in that, because 100%. You can have no connection to anybody and still get that connection. That's crazy, and God will align things that you didn't even know were aligned until after you look back on it.
Dude, that's so good. And listening to you give credit to God, in this journey, it's hard to see the Amari that says, like, I have to research it. Like, let me go research it. Right. And so and I was kind of the same way, right? Like I grew up in church, but like I needed proof. I needed facts. I needed hard stuff, placed before me before I could, step out. And that's not what faith is, right? Faith is, believing the things that are unseen, faith in that stuff. So where did you find your strength before God? Like, how were you living life? Like, how was it easy? Was it harder? Like, what was that like?
That's the question. So I think, truthfully, when you don't know God, it's easy to live life in ignorance, because once you know something, you can't unknow it. So I used to get strength from just like, being out with friends, and just, I really didn't have, I wouldn't say I had strength in something. I was just confident in myself and who I was. I still am to this day. I think it puts a lot more pressure on yourself, like God calls us to be like Christ. He doesn't call us to be perfect, but he calls us to try, try every day to be a better person. And when you don't have that like standard for yourself, it's like, okay, I have a good day. It's gonna be a great day. Let's do it. Kind of motivate yourself. And like, when you have God, God will literally motivate you. Wake up one day, be like, I don't want this. Like, Jesus, help me out. And you'll get up. And it's just a simple word, simple name that you got to call on. And then that's that.
Yeah. You're not doing life alone anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that was big for me, man. It's just like, I was like living in this kind of constant state of disappointment with the people I was with, because trying to rely on anybody other than God, you're going to be disappointed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's people that are going to be awesome. They're going to pull you through some seasons, but then the season that you feel like you need them most, they're not going to show up. And you're like, well, that was disappointing, Right. So that's interesting. And I can sense a profound change in just the viewpoint and the way that you live life.
I will give a big shout out to Creative Internship. I'll plug that real quick, creativeinternship.com. No, but for real, like, I would not be the person I am today without Creative Internship. And of course, I didn't join for the best of reasons, because I didn't even, technically, if we're looking on paper, I didn't even join. I was just in proxy,
Yeah.
So, but just being in proxy with everything that was going on and doing hands-on things, serving 9 to 5 or late nights, meeting people that have a belief in Christ, and not just doing it all in their own strength, because that'll pull it out of you.
Yeah.
And nights.
Yeah.
But shout out to Creative Internship, man.
That's huge. It's funny that you say in proxy, because like that goes in not just with like our daily endeavors, in our jobs and how that flourishes, but as well as Christianity. I mean, you look in the Bible, how many people had the faith that if they could just get close enough to Jesus, they could just touch Jesus's cloak, that he could do something. If he could just say it, he could heal somebody that was from far away, right? The story of the centurion, you know what I mean? So it's like there's that's such a big part of faith. Like, you might not have been there, for Jesus, but you're in proxy, and because of that, you're your life was radically changed. You're just in the place where God was, right?
Yeah. Right.
And something that just hearing your story, there's a theme that I hear time and time again is just that obedience, right? Like you told Andrew, like, why aren't they doing this? He's like, why don't you tell them? You're like, okay, or like,
Yeah.
why don't you apply for this job? Am I gonna make it? It's like, just do it. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a level of obedience that you did. So where did that mindset come from? Because I think that's what freezes a lot of kids looking to chase their dreams, is that something seems so far away. That's like, even if I try, that's not even gonna matter. So why try? But you always tried. Where'd that come from?
I was an athlete.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Athletes, man.
Funny athlete story. I was in wrestling. So I played football, basketball, and baseball. I didn't play basketball in high school, but I played like growing up, you know.
Mhm.
But one year I tried wrestling and I was not good at it at all. And I was like, one thing my parents instilled in me, my dad
Mhm.
specifically, was like, we're not gonna quit. Like, ain't nothing to it but to do it. We're gonna get it done, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would never quit. And so my first year of wrestling, I'm gonna let you guess. What do you think my record match time was?
Man, I have no clue. I know nothing about wrestling. I could say 2 minutes and I would have no clue if that was right or not.
6 seconds.
6 seconds?
Yes. I got tossed in 6 seconds, but that speaks to show that I never gave up. And my coach was like, I thought you would have quit halfway through the season. I'm like, I'm not gonna quit.
Yeah.
I'm here to learn, you know, I'm here to figure something out. But I think that drive definitely came from my parents of just like not giving up, not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, if an opportunity presents itself, why not take it? So
why not take it? But so do you hear any of like the negative self-talk pop in where it's like, you're not going to get it? And if you do, what are you doing to silence that? What are you doing to still just go after it? Right? What is that?
I mean, that self-talk is definitely there because we're all human, we're all flesh, you know. But when that self-talk pops up, I remind myself, and usually it's helpful to be around believers who also experience, like, not to say what you're going through, but to have a like-minded community. But I'll typically try to remind myself, like, if I say I have like a big shoot coming up, I'm like, bro, I'm 22, I don't know how to do this, and that happens multiple times. You know, I'm gonna be honest. It's like I didn't put myself in the position to be worried. God did. So if God put me here, why am I stressed?
Yeah.
Why am I worried? You know?
Yep.
And whatever happened is according to His plan and His will for my life. So I'm gonna just write it out.
Exactly, man.
It's super simple to say, but in action, I'll say it's a bit of a challenge because, you know, those fighting the enemy in your ears will definitely try to get you like, oh, you're not good enough, you're not blah blah blah. But you gotta just recenter yourself and realize, like, okay, I'm here, and it's really just about being in the present, you know. I think a lot of times we can go into things and be like, okay, next time I'm gonna do this, and that happens to me with my videos because I used to do YouTube. Like, next video is gonna be this, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be blah blah blah, and then the next video comes, I'm like, oh, I don't even know what to do, you know. So just building on what's happening currently. Yeah,
and it sounds like a discussion about motivation, right? How do you see motivation? What's motivation to you?
Motivation, I think, is just when I was not saved, motivation was definitely fame and trying to get famous and get money, and I'll be this big YouTube celebrity and all that other stuff. But now, to me, fame is really just being, or not fame, sorry.
And like, we're going down another pathway here. Yeah.
I was about to say, like, there's a lot we can talk about in this 30 minutes, but like, there's a lot. Motivation, I think, really just comes from just family, you know, and just being present. Because I realized so many times I feel like I've missed out on opportunities because I was either silenced or not silenced, but I was just silent or just not present. You know, I was always thinking about things, worried about things, or some anxiety creeps in, and I'm like, okay, let me just get through this quiet moment so I can have a better day tomorrow, or this will pass, so let me just get through it and then it will be a better day. You know, looking like the light end of looking at the light at the end of the tunnel compared to the light creeping through the cracks, you know?
Oof, that's good.
So,
man.
Yeah.
That's you hit on a lot of different things right there, whether it's from this too shall pass, right? That's
Yeah.
Solomon's ring, man. That's a big one. And then the waiting till tomorrow thing. I want to say it was C.S. Lewis, and if who's ever listening to this hears that and says you're totally wrong, just let me know sometime. But it's like he said, like, anything that you say you can do tomorrow, you're okay dying not doing it today, right?
Yeah.
Because tomorrow's never promised. Like, so if you say like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, then you're basically agreeing to yourself that if this was your last day, you're fine never ever doing it in your life, you know? And so just do it, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I think that's the visualization exercise I do with a lot of my clients, is like, let's just think about the worst possible thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Right? Can you survive that? And about 99.9% of the time, it's like, yeah, I could survive it. Like, it would suck, but I'd survive it. It's like, all right, that's the worst. Then let's think of everything above that. You know, look at all the possibilities, right? Which is so cool. So do you wake up every single morning just like, man, I love doing what I'm doing, I'm ready to go 100%?
No, I don't. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it real.
I love that. Yeah. So what do you do on those days? Like, what do you tell yourself?
Honestly, so recently I've been working out at a gym, which has definitely been helping me just like get my day started. Because right now I'm in summer, no school's going on. I have one class and my associates at the end of this, but those days where it's like I'm tired, I don't want to do it. Find a reason to get outside. Find a reason to get outside. Like yesterday, it was one of those days, and I was like, I was in bed. It was just a lazy day, you know. Sometimes we need just a day to reset. Yeah, that's okay. But it's a difference when it's a lazy day or it's a lifestyle, you know.
Oof.
So I was just sitting there, and I was like, I was technically watching YouTube tutorials on how to edit better. So I was like, oh, it's a productive day. No, it wasn't. But so then I was like, my parents were like, you want to go get some food? So I was like, all right, bet. So I got some food, and I don't win. I just made a YouTube video. I just put a camera in my car, vlogged it with me, just mind my business and just do my thing. And then that definitely kickstarted it. So I think definitely getting outside will definitely just help that. Or even just cracking a window and just hearing a bird. Like, as simple as it is, just appreciate the small things, because we're in Minnesota. We don't get birds year round, if we're being honest. So
yeah, that's why we're so resilient, man. We have to deal with all the gloom and grayness and cold and all that stuff. That was good control right there. Hit that mute during that call. That was good. I feel like anxiety is like starting to run super rampant, you know, through just young adults, even into adults. Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think just this rise in anxiety is coming from?
There's a lot, honestly. We could bring it down to like cultural happenings. We can bring it to social we could bring it to anything, to be honest. Personally, I think it just comes down to everyone thinking they have so much to do and not enough time. And we often overload ourselves in a time capacity when I don't think that's technically, don't get me wrong, it's technically possible to overdo and overwork yourself. I think part of it comes down to organization with time. Yeah. But I also think a lot of it comes down to worrying about what other people think, you know? Especially in the social media world. And I work technically in social media. So I'm seeing like, if this post is edited this way or this post is edited this way, what's going to be that type of outcome, you know? And just seeing that social media has such a grasp on us when we should have a grasp on it. Yeah, definitely causes anxiety, and that can cause depression and all types of stuff. So I think just like right now I'm trying to do like a social media, just like a reset. It's hard to do because I work in social media, so I have to like rebrand myself consistency and make that happen. But just having a break for myself, just because that screen time goes up and you're like, wow, I think if your screen time's over 7 hours, that's not a good thing, you know? So I'm speaking to myself. You can check my phone right now. I'm speaking to myself. So
oh man, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, man. That social media thing is gnarly, especially if you're obsessed with like analytics and stuff. Yeah. Like you look at like, oh, I spent all this time on this video, and then the analytics show that nobody cares about it. Like, what does that do for your self-esteem, or even just the idea of like hard work? Because I feel like there was a time where hard work was championed, right? Even if you weren't like given credit for it, even if you didn't get the result you wanted, the hard work, the actual process of working was more sought after than the outcome. Do you think that has affected a lot of this anxiety and why people just seem so much more down with how life is going?
Yes. Yes, I do believe that. I think one thing, I think Pastor mentioned it like a couple years ago. It was a men's conference thing, but we expect, I'm gonna bring it back to God a little bit, but we expect things to happen so fast in this world and right now in today's society. And God's not a microwave God. You can't throw him in 30 seconds, get a full meal out of it. You know, you gotta let it cook, gotta let it simmer. So I think a lot of that comes down to trusting and having faith at the end of the day, you know? I think if you're creating something and you're putting in your hard work, that can do two things. That can either make it feel like you did a lot of work and I'm satisfied with that. And I'm like, all the work I put into it to make this video or this table or this like physical object or whatever the case. Yeah. Or you could do two things where it's like, I wasted this much time on this video because you're comparing yourself to what you didn't have before. Yeah. So like that's one thing for me with social media. Just to go on a little tangent real quick.
No, it's good.
It's like, I was like, I want to make more videos and talk to people and see more, like make these views, whatever. But you can't get the views without making the video, you know? So don't look at the outcome as you making a video with 100,000 views for your first time. Because if you didn't make that video, you wouldn't have got 4. Right. You just got to start. You got to just put the hammer down, you know? Got to nail those, then get it done. So, yeah. But I think looking at it for the right reasons, you know, and recentering that, like, do you want it for fame or do you want it for you? You know? That's good. Because if it's for you, it will come for you and it will come to you. So,
yeah, man, that's good. That thing about, you know, God's timing and just like how he's not a microwave God, like that just makes me think of, I'm going through Esther right now, you know, and like that whole thing is a culmination of just like hundreds of years, not to get too theological, but I mean, like, the reason why Esther became so famous is because she was, you know, connected to seeing what the Agagite was doing to Xerxes, like wanting to overthrow and throw all the Jews out. And that whole the fact that Agagite was there was because King Saul, like hundreds of years before, didn't kill all the Amalekites and left King Agag alive. And so it's like and the Amalekites are there because they're from when the Israelites left Egypt. So it's like God's judgment took hundreds of years. So I mean, if you're sitting there like waiting for God's answer, it's like, man, read the Bible. There's like half the Old Testament is just people waiting for things to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's so good. That was a weird theological tangent, but it just made me think about that, man. But that's good. I mean, we're down to the last 4 minutes. I know time flies really fast. We might have to get you back on here again to talk a little bit more. But I know that you started a company. That's right. 22 years old. Yeah. This kid starts a company. So I shouldn't call you kid. You're a colleague now. So I mean, in the entrepreneurial world. But yeah, so what's the name of your company and what kind of clients do you like working with? Who do you like to help out with that?
Yeah, so I started Townsend Creative, which is a creative, right now is just a one-man band, but right now Townsend Creative is a video and photography agency. So if you want photos or videos, you know, I can get you some information. Go to atownsendmedia.com or reach out on Instagram, Townsend Creative. But yeah, we do all types of things. So we do client headshots, we do corporate headshots, we do, if you want any video needs taken care of, event capture, fitness videos, workout videos, sports, athletes, pretty much you name it, we will find someone who can do it or has done it in the past. That way you are confident in your results. So
it's a good pitch. That's a good elevator pitch right there.
That's right. You know?
Hands to those, man. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the Bullish Drive podcast.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for joining me on this episode of the Bullish Drive podcast. If you're a musician or an athlete looking to take your game to the next level, reach out to us at www.bullishdrive.com. I'd love to set up just a roadmap to overcome your barriers and reach your goals. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week. We got 2 incredible episodes left in the season, and they're extra long episodes because we have some awesome guests coming on. We'll see you then. And always remember, it starts with you and your destiny is waiting. Peace.